I mean, Riley Cooper, I mean, like, that dude deserves a statue. I mean, like,
number one on your speed dial.
Hey, I'll tell you what, like, I mean, I didn't know until a couple days after the fact. I was like, wait a minute, is he the MVP or like was he on the all-tournament team?
No doubt about it.
And then Ty Floyd, when I sure got 17, and like stole it from him. But I was like, when has a pitcher like been a part of like 5 of the 6 wins in Omaha? I mean, what a performance.
Coach, it's great to meet you.
Thanks, sir.
Thank you for the time.
Pleasure.
Yes, sir.
Sharp a little late, boys, at the spring game, obviously, as you can see. A couple of booze cruises here to do. Let's do it. Cruise. Grand salami to the boys. Finally back on track. And I got another one coming. Don't you think I don't? And that's how we roll in Tiger Stadium.
Just watching the spring games that were on television, one thing that jumped out about your squad is your quarterback room is very talented compared to a lot of the league and a lot of the country. I wonder, is it easier to recruit that position when you have talent or when you don't have talent? Coach Kelly, we're official.
Finally,
I'm
get a
telling you.
chance to meet you. Thought I had to get a private audience with the Pope. There's Jordy.
Monday through Friday from 7 to 9. Yeah, you see the notification. We about to go live. We got all your favorite guests. We got them in line. It's the Jordy Culotta Show.
And you
Come have a
started
good time.
tearing up answering the question. I thought, my God, if she gets offered this job, she's going to take it.
It's just a crazy, fun time at LSU right now. Isn't this what everybody loves?
From the boot to the east to the west coast. No matter where we at, we live. Open up the phone lines. Come and join the show. Make sure you tell your friends about Jordy Culotta Show. Yeah.
Let's go! Let's go!
All right. Nice start. Big day. Nice start.
It's the Jordy Culotta Show. Come have a good time.
Coach, it's great to meet you.
Thanks, sir.
Thank you for the time. Welcome in to a Tuesday edition on a new look here on the Jordy Culotta Show.
We have taken your input.
We have fallen for peer pressure.
We did.
We've moved some of the pictures around. We've opened the place up. Austin Gayron, who is a co-worker of ours over at Click Here Digital, is in with us this morning. He wanted to come check the show out. We gave him a front row seat.
Grab a microphone, dude.
Stewie's out this morning, so Lloyd's producing.
Let's go.
Man, Lloyd, your wall looks great.
Thank you. I got Shaq, Joey, J-Rock.
MJ.
Oh, I got to go the other way. J-Rock. The Dunk Squad. Love it back here.
We killed that wall.
Yes, we did. And that's when we thought about the least.
Back out to the two-shot real quick, Lloyd. All right,
Looks
get your
good.
feedback in. How you like it, Austin?
It looks
great.
good.
Yeah,
We made the centerpiece.
The boss was really kind of the precipice behind this.
Yes.
You know, Austin, you've done this. He brings you into the office. He gives you what you think is his opinion. He places it as an opinion, but it's forceful, kind of feels like a fact.
Next thing you know, we're rearranging the whole place and taking the audience's
Maybe broke a frame
input.
or two.
Yes, we did.
We lost a
Great
soldier.
one.
I know.
Great one. We'll put that one on the tab.
Yeah,
See if they've got a bill over at Brothers Framing.
Yeah.
It's good to be with you here on this Tuesday morning. Hit that like button, share button, comment button if you don't mind. We will be here until 9 a.m. this morning. Jacques going to be in at 8 o'clock. We're going to hear from Brian Kelly. Kelly yesterday speaking with the media, slowing everybody down on Caleb Jackson. I like it. I think we're getting a little too far ahead of ourselves here on Jackson. I love Jackson. He's going to be what looks like a really big-time player, but one scrimmage in Tiger Stadium is not going to make him an All-American and a Heisman Trophy candidate. I think Brian Kelly really handled that well yesterday. We will talk, did I say Tuesday? Today's Wednesday.
Did you?
Maybe. We will hear from Brian Kelly yesterday at the press conference. But remember, Daily, we're brought to you by RMB Builders. Shout out to Rhett and the crew over at RMB, rmb-builders.com. Online is where you can find our crew. That's custom design homes. That is reconstruction, additions, anything you need with construction, let RMB and Rhett take care of it today. RMB-Builders or on Instagram at RMB Builders. And then, as always, our phone line, Southern Regional Medical Center, Charlie Harvey, Jason Ramazan, BJ, the entire crew over at Southern Regional Medical Center, bringing you our phone line. No phones today. We will have guests in Jacques will be stopping by here at 8 o'clock this morning. And as always, we come to you live from our brand new studio on the campus of Click Here Digital on Interline Avenue in between Drusilla and Airline in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. Online at clickheredigital.com. If you need a direct contact to them, digital marketing focus, full service digital marketing agency, get in touch with me, Jordy, Jordy, at Click Here Digital. All right, Lloyd, we'll start. We will get to the Brian Kelly stuff. I want to start with Swamp Kings, Netflix documentary. So yesterday, little Jay gets dropped off at school, usual time, 7:20. About 7:23, a text message comes through from the school system saying that the grid is down on campus, University High School. Is going to be knocked off of school just like LSU was. What a call for the college kids on the second day of class to have the electricity go out full campus wide and have class shut down.
You get syllabus day and then power outage day back to back. I mean, you didn't have to
Lord.
roll out of bed. Some people aren't even in Baton Rouge yet
like
going,
I
I missed
planned
a
this.
thing. Yeah.
I mean, how did this happen? That felt like, golly, that felt like my first day at school.
Football season had to start at school.
The electricity just went out at my apartment, not on campus. Yeah, right.
Where power's out?
Today?
Today?
The school started? But so U-High is out, which is, just inconvenient for everybody, right? I feel like I'm back in the Catholic school system. The sun was shining too bright, so they called off school.
Buses don't want to bus.
Right, bus drivers are striking.
They're sick.
It's crazy. So Lil Jay's got to do a day at the house, and thank God for my mom. I mean, just what I don't know what I would do without my mom. I mean, just the way that she was able to step up, get him from school, spend the day with it. You know what I mean? It was as if he was in school for me. So when I get home, he's off. He was during the day. It was kind of 50-50 shot whether he was going to go to school. He was earache, throat. He was kind of coming down with a sickness.
The Culotta flu.
That's right. Strikes conveniently.
That's his second day of school.
Yeah, that's right. But he was battling. I've seen my fair share of fakers on the sick plea, and he was in it. So he gets back home and he's just kind of resting up all day. When I get home, I'm telling you, Lil Jay falls asleep at like 5:30, and Coach, he didn't wake up until 6:30 this morning. Oh. That's real sick.
That's sick.
That's real sick.
Unless you're high school, college,
and
where it's like I just need
so
this.
Sick. I mean, so like in a deep sleep. Like I was like, I can't wake him up. Yeah. Because it was like dinner time, and I was like, man. I mean,
at some point, you kind of miss my friend.
Gotta wear off, right?
Yeah, wake up, dude.
I mean, but never did. I mean, mouth open, just heavy breathing, like he's
going
out.
through it.
He's out.
Yeah.
He's out. So I'm like, I don't know what I'm going to do, man. So I start the Swamp Kings documentary on Florida football at about right when I get home. Like me and him kind of started, and about 10 minutes in, he's knocked out. So I'm just like letting it roll. And I got to be honest, it was terrible. Like terrible is a little that's a little dramatic.
For what it could have been.
It had some good points.
Yeah.
Like it had some good things in it, but it never like got into what you thought you were tuning in for about Florida football during that time period. Like all it really was a 4-piece documentary on the Gators, like really like on the field during that time from like 06 to 09. And honestly, like if it was just going to be a documentary about a college football team or a program during that time, I wouldn't mind seeing LSU. Yeah, I mean, like two of the major features in the doc versus Florida is coming to Tiger Stadium. I mean, obviously that 07 game, the behind the scenes, bless you, buddy. The behind the scenes of the Florida LSU game in 07 is it's legit.
Right.
I mean, it's good stuff.
Well, that's what made us both want to do an LSU one.
Dan Mullen in the locker room at halftime, talking about there's a sincere hate for LSU from that crowd.
Urban was trying to paint the picture that LSU was like this NFL team at the time, which they were.
They were.
But, I mean, don't discredit what Florida was at the time, too. Like, come on now.
But the way that he sold LSU was pretty fantastic.
Yeah, it's good for the brand.
Right? I mean, but at the end of it, so I watch all 4, Coach. I mean, like he's out. You know what I mean? So I'm like, I was staying up until like 10:30 last night watching all 4 parts of it. And what I was waiting on, I was waiting on the good stuff. Like that's why I kept going to the next episode. Like I was like, all right, you got me, man. Like I'm in on Brandon Spikes. Great personality, good storyteller. I mean, like he, they
teased you. Yes,
he's one of them dudes, right? Like you could tell, like even he was kind of trying to tell you, like what we were doing. Like, why did you come back, Brandon? He was like, why didn't I come back?
Right.
You know what I mean? Like I was living like a pro during that time. Well, tell me about it. Like what was going on?
Who was the? Pardon my ignorance. The guy that he replaced at middle linebacker?
Brandon Seiler.
He was also a key point for the stories that he was telling.
He's awesome.
Yes.
He's awesome.
Because they give you a little taste of, like, when they're talking about, like, the midnight workouts and when they're, essentially trying to, like, make you quit. When like, the wrestling on the floor. Like, okay, now we're going to get into some of the stuff that Herb was doing off the field and how he's kind of running a little bit of a different program. But that's really all you got.
Right.
Like, with those, that was enough to tease me to make me want to watch 3 and 4. I'll watch the first 2. But I never really, from all accounts that I'm hearing, you don't get it anymore. You don't get into the Aaron Hernandez. You don't get into Riley Cooper. All the things that this whole thing was billed as.
Right. Like that's what I was trying to see. Like I wanted, not like they had one story about Aaron Hernandez. They had one story about it. Tim Tebow and Aaron Hernandez were leaving a restaurant. Hernandez's freshman year, Tebow's junior year. And somebody in the parking lot, some moron, starts like taunting Hernandez. And like,
I think you know who I am.
Tebow's like, hey man, I don't know if I would do this. Like talking to the guy, like, don't mess with this guy. And like, 20 seconds later, I mean, he's got him, in a parking lot. I mean, he's beating the hell out of him. I mean, Hernandez is beating him up, and they're just like talking. The big part of the story was like the police report disappeared. Like, that's all I get?
That's every
What about
day.
the time Reggie Nelson and Aaron Hernandez shot somebody? Like, what about the time Riley Cooper was telling racist jokes in the locker room? Like, that's the stuff I like. If I'm just tuning in to get
Percy Harvin,
06 through 09 Florida, well, hell, tell me about 06 through 09 LSU. Right? Like, I want to hear about Ricky Jean and Tyson Jackson and Glenn Dorsey and Dwayne Bowe and Jamarcus. Like, tell me about those teams. Joseph Adai. I mean, it was like, all I'm getting is that they were a good football program during that time.
Yeah,
like, there were a lot of good football programs during that time. They left a national championship on the floor. Yeah. I mean, like, it's like, what it really was at the end of it was it was a PR wash for Urban Meyer. Like, if you're
his sidekick,
if you're wondering like what to expect by tuning in to the Netflix documentary on Florida football, it's all narrated by Herb. It's a sit down in 3 of Herb's houses. One of them, he's like Oceanside,
palatial.
I mean, like,
I was waiting,
flexing.
I was waiting for his buddy to pop up in the background with the bong.
I mean, dude.
Yeah,
I mean, it was just
for you, dude.
It was one of those shots.
Yeah,
not now. I'm live, dude.
Everybody can see your big belly, dude.
But like one of them was like from the Florida, like from the swamp, like they're in the swamp. He's sitting there like talking and narrating in the swamp. And like two of them, one of them he's like in a living room, and then the other one he's just like sitting like Michael Jordan did on The Last Dance, like just in this palace, just letting you know like I'm the king of this. And I mean, I get that Urban was accessible and he was telling the stories, but like he was controlling the narrative. Can I hear from somebody else besides Urban? Like if Urban's controlling the story, I'm getting his point of view.
I want to hear from a kid that got cut.
I want to hear from the police, from the policeman that Urban was calling to throw away the police report on Aaron Hernandez. Like I want to hear from the people that were on the inside that were. I mean, this is 15 years ago now, right? I mean, like the statute of limitations has passed on a college football team, right? I mean, like Aaron Hernandez is dead. You know what I mean? You're not going to implicate anybody at this point. I mean, like, give me the stuff. Tell me the stories. It was...
The laptop.
It was nothing.
Where's the laptop?
They don't even mention Cam Newton. They show Cam Newton highlights. And they don't even mention that Cam Newton's, like, running the ball. In fact, they show Cam Newton scoring a touchdown, and they cut Vern off before they say his name. They're like, he's like, touchdown Gators. Whack. And, like, cuts it off. Like,
they probably didn't have his permission.
Cam Newton.
Because he's in the media, too. So he probably was like, I don't want to be featured on anything in this Florida thing. He's got enough pull.
No, absolutely. He signed that off when he joined Florida. I mean, they own those rights. If they sell the rights to that, they can show what they want. But, I mean, like, it was a letdown. You know what I mean? Like, it was for what the Untold series has been on Netflix, and it's been awesome. I mean, every one of them I've seen has been gripping.
At least gave you something that you didn't know, something that was actually untold.
Well, like the Malice at the Palace, like you're sitting down and talking to the subjects, like all of them, like even like the NBA guys are talking about what it meant to their, like, give me somebody from the SEC. What was the league's point of view on Florida during that time when they were, getting arrested twice a week?
You're telling me Steve Spurrier didn't want to talk about it?
Right. I mean, like Spurrier was a major opponent at that time at South Carolina. I mean, it was a huge deal. One thing I will say about Urban is that the dude stressed winning more than just about anybody I have ever seen. Like, I do think that the, faking the heart attack on the sideline in 2009 at the SEC championship was fake.
Oh, yeah.
But
it was
his lifestyle was, I mean, he was obsessive about, and it really was not about, like, the Florida program. It was more about a battle within himself. You could tell. It was more about, like, kind of like, I've got to do this. I've got to get this done for my own peace of mind, right? Like, I mean, it was something that like that first trip to South Carolina, where he goes, like, like the shots of him on the side, he can't stand still. You know what I mean? Like, he's like fidgeting. He's like, he's a nervous wreck. And then the next season, they have the best team in the country. The first year is 2005, where he really surprises some people with Chris Leak. If you remember, he came in to Baton Rouge, and the only reason why I've never seen this in my life. LSU had 5 turnovers that day and won the game. Like, think about that. Like, you gotta, if you're on the other side, if you're the opponent of that game, like, and you take it away 5 times and you lose, how long is that flight home? Right? I mean. So, I mean, in 2005, he kind of was surprising a lot of people. That was the Chris Leak, Tim Tebow kind of deal. And then, in 2006, they're the best team in the country, right? Or no, 2005, he just had Leak. In 2006, he gets Tim Tebow.
Right.
But 2006, I mean, like, they win the Natty. And when, when Spurrier in South Carolina come back that next year in 2006, it comes down to a field goal. I forgot all about this. Like, I mean, Spurrier in South Carolina with one of Spurrier's down teams in 2006 has that Florida team on the ropes. Again. And Urban, like, is even like, I think people deep down in the swamp are like pulling for Spurrier.
They want to see him. They want to see him win again.
They are pulling for him. So, like, even in his own
sick, twisted mind,
like, I mean, you can see him just battling.
Could you? I mean, imagine being him on the sidelines. If he's telling you that now, imagine how much he was thinking it then during the game. Like, they want them to win.
Oh yeah, and they're zooming in on him. Like, he's got hands on his knees. He's looking down. Like, he can't look. You know what I mean? Like, he's like, I'm thinking if we lose, I'm out.
I'm out.
Like, I'm done. If I lose to this guy 2 years in a row, I'm dead.
And they have the linebacker, whenever he throws his headset, he goes, pick your motherfucking headphones. He goes, you be all right, Herb.
Yeah, right. Brandon
Pick
Silent.
up your little headphones.
It was a national championship game. That was a Teddy Ginn deal.
Yeah, the first play of the game, and if he doesn't get hurt by his
Right.
own team,
Right.
Ted Ginn was electric.
He was. And Urban's like reaction.
Why'd we
He's
kick
like,
to him?
He's like on the field. He's like, I mean, what the bleep are we doing? He's like looking at his players, like asking, what are we doing?
You
know,
told
like,
us to kick it to him.
What do you mean? You told us to kick it to him, right? Like,
Oh, pick up your little headphones. You'll be all right, Herb.
so if you watch it, just be prepared for the PR wash that Urban.
Still good, though.
It is. I mean, look, LSU's all over it, right? I mean, like you could see the respect that they had for LSU during that time period. And it is, it's good stuff. You know, I mean, it is good stuff. It's just, it doesn't give you what you think you're tuning in for.
No, and you get a little jump pass. You get to relive that.
The jump pass was a huge deal.
Huge deal.
mean,
Thought about that. I mean, that had to be a
Good
central
Lord.
figure of the story.
Good Lord. I mean,
Vern's call on
we
it.
got it. And it was such a goofy play, man.
I mean, he double pumped it. For as much as
mistimed
they
his
practiced
jump.
it, yeah.
The guy falls down. I mean, like
Just ugly.
Tyson Jackson, his reaction is great. Like, I mean, Tyson Jackson's just battling. And he like looks back and he sees, he's like,
Pat? What are you doing?
man, like 8 seconds left in the half.
Right.
All right, so Brian Kelly yesterday was speaking with the media. Remember, Daily, we're brought to you by our friends over at Ochsner Sports Medicine, Andrews Institute over there. You can get to whether you're a pediatric patient, a high school athlete, a member of the Saints, Pelicans, or a weekend warrior. Over at Ochsner, Andrews Sports Medicine Institute for Care. They've been serving residents of Louisiana, Mississippi, and beyond, and they're ready to help you get past whatever sports injury you may be facing today. Learn more online at ochsner.org/sports medicine. So Brian Kelly yesterday, we talked a lot about Caleb Jackson, right? Jackson made a huge impact in his first scrimmage on Saturday. Look, he just went nuts, man. He had a couple of touchdowns. He was running with his helmet off. I mean, it was one of those days for the freshman where he was popping. And Brian Kelly yesterday was meeting with the media. And as soon as he got there, he had it opened up for questions. And the first player he was asked about yesterday, he talked a little bit about, to open, and I'll give you all the bites here, but he talked a little bit about, obviously, the energy going out, the power going out yesterday on campus. And then Big Glenn asked him about when he starts preparing for Florida State. And then Jacques was the first question about personnel. And it wasn't about quarterback. It wasn't about safety. It wasn't about defensive back. It was about true freshman running back, Caleb Jackson. And this is what Brian Kelly had to say about the true freshman out of Liberty as he was shining on Saturday. Here was Kelly's reaction.
Typically, I could be wrong. I've been wrong, as you guys know, many, many times.
Well, is Caleb Jackson maybe kind of changing that thinking and kind of...
He had a good day, but, you've seen this many, many times, and I have as well. We tend to overreact to, these kinds of situations. Was that a product of bad tackling, or was that great running, right? Maybe it's a little bit of both. Now, let's not take anything away from the kid. He's done a really good job. But there are other facets that he's going to have to continue to work on. We are really excited about his future here, but there's clearly more work to be done.
Brian Kelly handling it as good as you can, really, by publicly coming out and saying, "Look, kid's good, but let's pump the brakes here and make sure he goes through the right timeline and not put a lot of pressure on him." He got 8 running backs, man.
Let's actually focus on the defense a little bit. Was
Right.
it not? Was it bad tackling?
Right.
What's my pivot point here to put out the Caleb Jackson fire?
Do I think Caleb Jackson's going to have a role on this team? I do. I think that at some point this season, he may even be a feature back for a game, right? Like, he's the type of player that, you give him a carry in the second quarter, the late first quarter, where you're putting him in there, and he just rips one off. Mm-hmm. And, he just does some of the things that he did on Saturday. Well, then maybe you're like, hey, pump it to him 12, 15 times. Let's see what happens. Let's see if he can get moving. I think you can hear there is there's a deep concern about ball security right? I mean, there's a deep concern just about, seeing things for the first time, right? I mean, the first time you go on the road in the league, the first time you play in a hostile environment, the first time you play in Tiger Stadium on a Saturday night. I mean, all of those things are first emotions that you have to not only manage the player, but you have to manage that stuff mentally for whoever you decide to put out there. And while the future is gleaming bright for Caleb Jackson, I mean, blinding, it is gleaming so bright at this point that there does have to be a fair timeline on how he develops.
Temper.
Right? And especially when you're coming into a room as talented and as deep and as experienced as it is. I mean, all of that is good stuff for Caleb Jackson. Like, he can lean on Josh Williams. He can lean on a guy like John Emery. He can lean on Noah Cain, on Logan Diggs, on just bouncing questions off of them or just watching them work. Watching the road that they've traveled. Well, how could John Emery help Caleb Jackson? He could tell him what not to do. He could point out the landmines and the potholes to look out for, man. This is where I got caught up. So, I mean, all of what Caleb Jackson is around, Frank Wilson every day, is just very positive going into his development. And I love how Brian Kelly handled that, right? In the sense of, look, I mean, he's good, but there's a lot of other factors that are going into this.
And especially with a year when you have 7 other running backs on scholarship, what was the last time you had a freshman coming out the gate and start, aside from, Leonard? Whoever it was.
Leonard didn't.
He
started. It was Kenny Hilliard.
Oh, I guess he was back there on kick for the first play of the game.
Yeah, but I mean, like, the first couple series of the game, I mean, I remember Leonard's first touchdown. I remember he got up and struck the Heisman pose.
Yeah, against Sam Houston.
Like Sam Houston. Everybody was.
He didn't score against.
Even people in the crowd were like,
"No, Leonard,
easy.
not now." Yeah.
Let's slow down a little bit. Like, I mean, Wisconsin bottled him up the first week. I mean, the opening kickoff, they kicked it right to him, and he didn't get past the 15. You know,
he knew he was taking it.
Right. I mean, it was. There's going to be a learning curve. There's going to be a process here that these guys have got to get to, and I love how it sets up for the young backs. I really do. I know Trey Holly was going through it a little bit in late in summer and early fall, and just kind of looking around. But hopefully somebody was able to, and I'm. Look, by no means saying that Holly was any threat of you, but you just heard things of him looking around and seeing there's so many people, right? I mean, like there's so many guys, there's so many options, but how it lays out and how the room is put together, where you've got experience, you've got veterans, you've got guys that can really be someone to lean on for these freshmen, somebody that these guys can use as an example, use as, somebody that they can bounce things off of. I just think it's fantastic. And you've got Wilson leading the room. All right, here is more from Brian Kelly. Let's just go down the list here. Here's yesterday him opening up his statements about yesterday's school being called off on the second day. Buddy.
You guys want to talk about the power outage here? It's awesome. No, you got air conditioning. We worked all day to make sure that you guys got air conditioning in here. That's all we did. I just got back from moving all the turbines, and we didn't practice today just to take care of you people. Absolutely. Absolutely. So what do we want to talk about today? Anything of importance?
All right, so Glenn West was the first to open it up. Here was this question about preparation for Florida State, the opener, a week from Sunday, which is crazy to talk about.
I just wanted to put that in there because it's awesome. I don't know what he was so pumped about.
Something annoyed him.
It's awesome.
Today and tomorrow we'll do a little bit of Florida State, but we're not, fully into a Florida State practice. I'd say Thursday, Friday, Saturday. I think, probably, when you break down like preparation, for me, I look at like a Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday in season, and we'll do that twice. So we've got plenty of time. So I would say probably Thursday, Friday this week we'll begin to really focus on Florida State.
Kelly, yesterday, here is Brian Kelly speaking with the press as he had some really good sound bites. Here was one of them. Sage Ryan has made a position change this fall. Here's why.
Well, he has elite speed. I mean, he's a guy that can run in the high 21 range. So, he's got the skill, to have the kind of speed to play out there. The second thing, experience, and at that cornerback position, that's the one area that we're calling for experience. And I think the third is he's a pretty smart football player, so he puts himself in a pretty good position. One thing that we really are concerned about is making sure that we tackle the football and having a great tackler out there. Sage has been a really steady tackler for us. So he brings a lot of those traits to that position and gives us flexibility to, put a guy that's played a lot of football out there that runs really well and can tackle in a position to help us.
Scrimmage on Saturday, as it was a short scrimmage, more of a longer practice. Here was Kelly's takeaway from first Saturday in Tiger Stadium.
The guys that need to be developed to be guys to count on, and who are the guys that are not ready to be counted on yet that need more time to develop. And so it was much more in that fashion than it was I like this or I didn't like that. This was much more about 53. This was much more about finding out defensively, who else can we get on the field at the jack position? Is Whit Weeks getting closer to playing? Can Stamps hold up at corner? And all those became positive for us. And so I think we were looking for those kinds of answers. And then on the other side, who needs more work? Who needs to continue to develop? And I think that's kind of, how we looked at the scrimmage.
Harold Perkins, year 2. Here is what Coach Kelly had to say about Perkins' development.
Well, quite frankly, we didn't drill down on the nuances of the position. We moved them around to be an edge player for us. Quite frankly, we felt like we wanted to take advantage of his athleticism when we put him in positions to really go get the quarterback. So there was really nothing that he didn't do. He picked up the schemes from week to week. This was really about, learning, pass coverages and gap responsibilities and things that we really didn't spend a lot of time with him. But he's got a great football IQ. He's really, I would say, from a pass coverage, he's got great sense in pass coverage, zone, and obviously man. And understands gap integrity. He's not running around there just, trying to make plays on athleticism. So we've been very pleased with his football IQ.
Chris Hilton is a name that has really popped here early on in fall camp, somebody that is playing healthy, who is back on the field. Here's what Hilton brings LSU.
I think he's had a really good camp. I think he's been more consistent. And one of the consistencies is staying on the field, as you mentioned, Jacques. He's been injured, but he's been healthy. He's made every practice. So I think that in itself is huge progress for him. And I think he's been more consistent catching the football. He was inconsistent. So staying healthy, catching the football, because we all know about, the other things, and that is that he can run. I'd say that he's taken the proper strides forward, that we are all happy for him.
Hilton is becoming a real viable option, I think, to the offensive play caller and to the offensive side of the ball. I think Brian Kelly you can hear the confidence in his voice, who Chris Hilton is if he's healthy. That's always been the part about Hilton that you were concerned about, is whether he was going to be able to stay on the field, is whether he was going to be able to stay healthy. And, to see him go through fall camp and be able to stay out there and get his reps, you can see who he is. He is a true, deep, stretch the field threat in college football. Somebody that can really, you have got to help. You've got to shade help too. You've got to be able to know where he is when he lines up, because if you don't, he could be standing by himself, 50, 60 yards down the field. And if Jaden Daniels, if there's a true, real push to, stretch the ball, move the ball over the top of the defense, Chris Hilton is the guy that could be the biggest benefactor of all of that. Especially when you've got guys like Malik Neighbors and Brian Thomas and Mason Taylor and Aaron Anderson and, Kyron Lacey, guys that you have to pay attention to, right? So, you're talking about Chris Hilton getting out there, and he may be going up against third, fourth, fifth best cover guy on the field, right? You've got some nickelback that doesn't play a lot of snaps, that you throw him out there just for situational, and he's lined up over Chris Hilton for his first rep of the night, and Hilton just puts his head down and sprints. It could be. And then the next thing you know, when 17's out there, you got to start shading double teams. You got to start shading help. And then Malik Neighbors just murders you. Brian Thomas is just eating your lunch. Mason Taylor's killing you over the middle, right? These are the threats, the options, the weapons that LSU has, and why talking and building up to the season, I really, even going back to those teams last night and watching Swamp Kings with Florida and watching, LSU in their prime, 05, 06, 07, where you're just pumping pro after pro after pro out. They still didn't have the amount of depth of weapons that this team has. There's Dwayne Bowe, Craig Davis, Early Doucet. I get it, but you start rattling off the list of guys here, it takes you a while to get to Chris Hilton. And if Chris Hilton's right, he's a double-digit touchdown guy a season. So, they want Hilton to stay right, stay on the field, stay healthy, because if he is, man, that is just, it's what a luxury for this team to have that type of player without, really having him on the field predominantly of the, the downs. He's like a specialty piece. He's like a, you put him in there when you need a big play, when you want a big play, when you want something, when you need a decoy after, at the mid-season point, when he starts going in there and everybody starts thinking, get the hell away from the line of scrimmage, everybody get back, then you hand it off to Caleb Jackson one time when there's 6 people in the box. It's just a lot of options, man. Another big name here in fall camp that has been popping early on, that seems like it's going to have a chance to make a push to play early, is tackle Lance Hurd. Here was Brian Kelly speaking about his true freshman offensive lineman.
Well, he certainly has developed, just the understanding of the offense in itself, from terminology to technique to, it's college football. He's going to, there are guys he went against last year that, quite frankly, there was mismatches, maybe 80% of the time, 90% of the time, maybe 99% of the time. So now he's going up against Savion Jones, and he's going up against some pretty impressive football players. So that's a whole new thing for him to deal with. So the rigors of that, right? Each and every day. So he's going through a lot of that. But is he pushing for a starting position? He's a guy that, we're giving, reps to. He's we got to find the best 5 guys, and then the next is the 6th and 7th. So he's in the mix, and he's out there competing hard.
Listen closely to what he's saying there. He is trying to say, I don't know if he's trying to tell Lance Hurd. I don't know if he's trying to tell Brad Davis. I don't know if he's trying to tell himself.
Mm-hmm.
Play it again, Lloyd. I mean, listen into what Brian Kelly is saying. He is saying that Lance Hurd's one of our best 5. It's only a matter of time before he just gets out there and plays him.
Well, he certainly has developed, just the understanding of the offense in itself, from terminology to technique to, it's college football. He's going to, there are guys he went against last year that, quite frankly, there was mismatches, maybe 80% of the time, 90% of the time, maybe 99% of the time. So now he's going up against Savion Jones, and he's going up against some pretty impressive football players. So that's a whole new thing for him to deal with. So the rigors of that, right? Each and every day. So he's going through a lot of that. But is he pushing for a starting position? He's a guy that, we're giving, reps to. We got to find the best 5 guys, and then the next is the 6th and 7th. So he's in the mix, and he's out there competing hard.
Brian Kelly's a really smart guy. He is a master communicator. Brian Kelly looked like he was on the witness stand being asked something that he didn't want to answer right there.
That was old school Les.
It was kind of like, you know what?
Why are we talking about this?
Next question.
Where am I talking? He's literally cut himself. Why am I still talking? I don't know what I've said. What am I going to say?
It was a mismatch 80%, 90%,
85%,
99% of the time last year. He's sitting there thinking
Every
he's
game
so
watched.
good.
Yeah.
He's so good. I'm sitting here watching him play for the last 2.5 weeks up close, going up against Savion Jones and guys like that, and he's still that good.
Because that they were laughing, and the coach was like, dude, I wonder how much fun high school was for him if he's not struggling against Savion Jones in practice, if that's the case. And he was like, God, I bet they were just giggling dude, I bet he mauled people in high school.
Just turn the film on.
I know, but to see every rep,
turn
oh
on
my
the
God.
film 3 years ago when it's him and Will Campbell on the same offensive line.
They look like aliens out there on the bookend tackles.
Just breaking kids' wills,
Again,
spirits.
5'6", 180 pounds.
Dad's in the stands telling the wife, put the camera down.
Yeah, that's it. We didn't.
Don't bring the camera tonight.
I think
we don't want to film Junior's game tonight.
Yeah, I think Junior's got the flu.
Yeah, right. How's that ankle?
Bad.
Yeah, put it on ice. Put it on ice tonight. Remember, Daily, we're brought to you by Go Roof, the pros over at Go Roof, GEAUX roof.com. A beautiful roof every single time from our friends over at Go Roof. 225-927-8300 is the convenient phone number that you can dial them up this morning. They'll have a pro on the roof today from Go Roof if you want to dial that number if you're curious whether or not you need a new roof. If you're scared about getting and asking about a roof because you don't want to work with the insurance company and all of the paperwork and red tape that goes into it, don't worry about it. It's all good. Go Roof will take care of all of that for you. All you have to do is just make the call. 225-927-8300 is the phone number. Get in touch with Go Roof. Tell the crew you heard it right here on the Jordy Culotta Show. You can also log online to GEAUXroof.com and request a free quote right there online. Just click the link. You can give them your information. And like I said, they'll be right back in touch with you today. Over 15 years of experience, free quotes available from the pros. They offer roof repair, roof installation, and maintenance for your roof for both residential and commercial customers. Been doing it for a long time. Online, GEAUXroof.com, GEAUXroof.com. Get a 2-year free workmanship guarantee with all new roof installations as well. Phone number 225-927-8300, 225-927-8300 is the phone number. You can request a quote online if you'd like. Log online at GEAUXroof.com. A beautiful roof every single time from our friends over at Go Roof. All right, more from Brian Kelly. Here is this is 10, Lloyd. This is an update on Zy Alexander, the transfer cornerback out of Southeastern. As Zy Alexander's been pushing for a starting role as well. Here is Brian Kelly speaking of his transfer corner.
Yeah, I think the first thing is he's a guy that's trustworthy. Does the little things the right way. He's a guy that takes care of his work off the field, on time, reliable. Those traits, as we know, they're transferable. And so at that position, that's what you're looking for. And then he brings length, athleticism. And we've seen him be a guy that's not afraid to stick his nose in there. Even though he played quarterback in high school, and he is physically, developing and getting stronger. We like his willingness to go in there and want to tackle. And I think we saw on Saturday he's got the nose for a football too. When it's in the air, he's going to go up and find it, and he can catch it.
Both Zy Alexander and Andre Sam, when you ask coaches early here in camp about those two prospects, that word continuously came up that Brian Kelly just said, trust, right? And from a coaching standpoint, to be able to trust a player out there, it means everything. I mean, it's everything. It really is. I mean, you can hear the security that coaches speak about when players that they trust. You can hear about just the ease that they talk about players when they can trust them. It's a different relationship between a player and coach when you can trust them. Look at the remarks that Brian Kelly has on Zy Alexander compared to the remarks that he has on Denver Harris. Right? I mean, there is a simple characteristic between those conversations that's present when speaking about Zy Alexander and absent when he's speaking about Denver Harris. Trust. Listen to the way that he speaks about. I mean, he's leaning on the podium. Look at his body language when he's speaking about Zy Alexander. He's comfortable. He's at ease. He knows the guy is going to be on time. He knows he's going to do his job. Are there some things about Zy Alexander that he wishes he could change or have him catch up? Listen to what he's saying. Physically, he's getting stronger. He's starting to catch on. You were wondering whether or not he put his head in there and go tackle. He's doing all those things that you were curious on whether or not he would be able to do. You don't hear him talking about that stuff with Denver Harris. Right? Like, I mean, they know he's a football player, but they're just waiting on Denver Harris to show up on time.
That was a subliminal message.
Right? Like, get to the meal on time. He said in that soundbite, those are all traits that you can carry over. It's what he's saying. It's your decision. It's your choice, right? Whether or not you show up on time. Zy Alexander chooses to show up on time all the time. So that's, it's gone into the trust factor of putting him out there. I mean, are there some deficiencies that you wish you could be a step or two faster? Sure. But does he overcompensate that by doing trustworthy things of knowing where he's supposed to be, getting to the places where he's supposed to be? And I'm not even talking about off the field now. I'm talking about on the field, knowing where he's supposed to be in every assignment and getting there and compensating for his lack of speed or whatever it's trying to replace. I mean, that's the difference here early on between, the guys that he's speaking of like that and the guys that he's wishing would catch up. Offensively, the efficiency versus explosion debate came up yesterday. Here was what Brian Kelly had to say about it.
Yeah, so, explosiveness sometimes is looked at as, a play that has to be thrown, 20 yards down the field. It could be, making sure that you get the ball into the hands of your dynamic playmakers. And tactically, setting it up as such that they touch the ball enough that you can get explosive plays out of them. And sometimes, I remember, looking at, Alabama's offense in 2020, and their receivers weren't necessarily always pushing the ball down the field. It was just flipping the ball out on the perimeter, and they were turning them into explosive plays. So, explosive plays to me certainly are about pushing the ball down the field, but it's also about getting the ball into your playmakers' hands. And that's going to be both of those things. You have to balance those because you can't just keep pushing the ball down the field and find yourself, staring at 3rd and 10 every time.
Clear understanding of the weapons that he obviously has. I mean, I think he knows that it's not going to take much to move the ball with this offense. I mean, you can simply just kind of snap it, flip it out to somebody, and they'll, they could pick you up 12, 20, 60 yards. I mean, like it's not as if you have to continuously try to throw it over the top. Will they? I expect them to be much more aggressive here in year 2 with Brian Kelly and Jaden Daniels, but
I think that's what he's kind of doing. He's trying to subtly tell you that it's not going to look that much different in terms of what
more efficient.
Yeah, what the play call is. It's that you're not going to see 4 verts every time they go out and play. I think he's kind of setting you up with a little bit of don't let your expectations get out in front of what this offense will be because it's going to be efficient. Yeah. You don't have to, like, Aaron Anderson doesn't have to run 40 yards before you throw it to him.
Yeah, right.
You can give it to him and then let him run 40 yards.
Exactly. All right, and the last one here is Brian Kelly was speaking yesterday about some updated numbers in the program. 7 and 18, which have the reputation, obviously, within LSU football areas, talking about where they stand.
You know, we've given it great thought, and it's certainly something that I know a lot of people are anticipating. I would say probably by the end of this week we'll have some kind of announcement.
Who are we thinking?
This might be you think he goes dual like Coach O used to do, where you have one on each side? Because I could see you can make a case for Josh Williams on offense.
O was using it as like recruiting pitches.
Yes. I would think, but then he gave it to an offensive lineman that got a patch, Lloyd Cushenberry. But
Deserved.
I would say Josh Williams on offense if I had to give it to one side of the ball. If you give it to two, I would say Josh and Major would be another 18. For 7, I mean, Malik. Probably the other candidate aside from Harold Perkins, but he's 4, unless he goes to another number change, which would be.
Joe wouldn't hate.
No, that if it's 7 supposed to be what we think of when you think of 7, give it to Perkins. He's even as a sophomore, that's kind of who you want. You want to be a difference maker.
That's what they did with Matthew.
That's what I'm saying. It goes kind of back to the old rule, where it's like,
just give it to the best player.
Don't overthink it. Like Malik deserves it. Yeah. Like I get if you want to do that, you can, and I feel like he's been a model of kind of consistency and everything that maybe 7 hasn't been lately, where you do by not overthinking it, you at least get it back into the game because Kayshawn, it was almost like a recruiting pitch for Kayshawn to like, this is your chance to be a fresh start, be 7, be a leader, all that thing. And they put out like a massive press conference for it, or like a press release, for him getting 7 and like was well written about him being a leader and all of these things that Kayshawn probably didn't say, but it looks good. So, but if you just give it to Malik, then you get a guy that you can trust with 7, and it looks like, okay, at least it's trending in the right direction again, as opposed to Jamar Chase gets it, doesn't play. You know, Kayshawn gets it, he's in and out the lineup. Stingley gets it, doesn't play. It gets at least Malik, you hope, everything that you know about him, he's going to at least gut it out and be on the field.
Sure. No, I'm with you on both of those. I think that those are really good candidates when you speak of 18 type guy, 18 when you think of the reputation of that position, right? I mean, Josh Williams makes a ton of sense. He's someone that I could see getting. I think Mekhi Wingo is another one that really kind of jumps up to mind, immediately as somebody that could be in the discussion for that. And then when you're talking about 7, I'm with you. I would not overthink this thing. If it's what it's intended to be, and this was intended when Patrick Peterson looked at Tyrann Mathieu and said,
"You next."
I mean, this number means something. Here, don this. And, it went to another level. Leonard Fournette looked at it as something that was almost a sales pitch of why he wanted to go to LSU. Not the whole reason, but there was a little part of him that wanted to wear 7 at LSU.
Legacy.
Right? Jamar Chase talked about what that meant to him at the time. Now, obviously, he didn't play it out on the field, but I mean,
he just got good advice.
Sure. I mean it still means something is my point is, you have guys that it still means something to, and
I think it means probably more in the locker room than it does too. Like there's a lot of people in the chat saying it ran its course, like 7, 18, overrated, all of that. I get it. People, while you may think it's run its course, you ask every year. You're interested to see who gets it every year. Like you may not like the idea of it because maybe it doesn't live up to the hype in your mind, but I imagine between those 4 walls at LSU, if you're a player, it certainly means something to them, and that's all that really matters to the coaching staff. They don't really care what we think. If it's important to the players, then they're going to keep doing it.
Absolutely. I mean, it's all internal stuff, right? I mean, it's stuff that motivates. First off, the fans have to realize, and the first time you hear this, sometimes it punches you in the gut.
Does.
But I mean, like most of you know by now, nobody cares about the fans. I mean,
it hurts.
I mean, it does hurt. I mean, and I remember the first time in covering programs where you really realize when you hear the discussions that the players, the coaches, everybody has. I mean, it's awesome to show up on Saturdays and have support, and that is counted on and it helps win games. But outside of that, not one decision, not one choice has any factor on what the feeling the fans will have on it. And, it's just the truth. And the first time you hear it, see it, feel it, it is kind of like, whoa, man, that is my whole perspective on
Santa's not real?
Yeah, exactly.
Like, oh.
Exactly.
I don't have a voice in this?
Right.
And it's not a slight on anybody. They got a job to do. Like, you saw it as recent as even with the LSU baseball team and Jay Johnson, like the decision to not play a game, like, or make you wait it out. It's like, look, I'm glad y'all are here, and I'm glad you want to be here all day. But I got to make a decision to make sure that our guy Schemes can go, because that's my job.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, I'm sorry that you have to sit, that you're stuck in the doctor's waiting room, but doing surgery.
And
at the end of the day, you happy with what you got?
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Like the ring on your finger?
There's no debate on this. You're free to go.
I
mean,
well, look, I bought tickets for everybody. Is everybody good? Free tickets for the student section.
And Stan Manning brings up a good point. And as a fan, all I care about is results. And you should.
Yes.
Right? That should be the relationship between you and your team. Sure, you care about. I mean, you get to, come to realize that they're people and their personalities, and you fall in love and you buy the jersey and you go to the games and you pull for all of it. But at the end of it, right, like if you realize like it's a business deal. You know what I mean? Like I will support you. I'll buy your stuff. I'll invest in your product if I know you're playing hard and going to try and win every Saturday and Sunday. But if you don't, I'm going to turn on you. Right? Like that's, like just like the players and coach. I can't believe these people are turning on me. Oh, you can't? Really? Why? You don't give a damn about them and you're not doing your job. So, I mean, when you're doing your job, they love you, right? Like, I mean, like how cool was it to be Sean Payton in New Orleans between 2006 and 2012? It was really cool. Sean Payton got suspended a year. He started doing some things off the field. He'd go into New Orleans and, people would serve him a check. Like, we're going to need you to pay for that meal. Like, what? Like, yeah, man. I mean, it ain't all who dat anymore. I mean, it's my wife doesn't like you. Like I got to charge you for this meal.
Or she likes you too much.
Right. Or you like her too much, so we can't give her around. I mean, it's just, that's the truth of it. You know what I mean? Like it's, how could these people turn on me? Because you're not doing your job and you don't care about them. And they know that and they don't care about you. Like, how's it feel? And
in the same vein, you don't continue to support the program, right? Like you don't. I would imagine that's why they're people, like you said, they're people too. And when you see them in public, that's usually what you get is what you see. They're not putting on a front. If you meet somebody that's nice out, they're probably a good person. Like it's okay to support.
Absolutely.
These guys without being tied to the result too.
And when you walk up to their table at dinner and ask for their autograph, and you mask it for your 11-year-old, they're rolling their eyes at you. If they're not telling you to get the hell away from them, they're telling you that as soon as you walk away. Right? Like, I mean, like that's just the reality of it. They're human beings, just like you are. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, it's the relationship that when you come to realize it for the first time, the whole concept of fan to sport changes, right? All right, 8 o'clock hour, we're going to talk to Jacques. Jacques going to come through here, and we will talk, obviously, LSU camp stories with him. Look forward to talking some Saints with Jacques as well as he's down there covering New Orleans. Saints' final preseason game coming up this weekend versus the Houston Texans. That'll be Sunday night at 7 o'clock inside of the Mercedes-Benz Superdome. I'd imagine not a lot to look as far as starters go here, as we were talking to Ross Jackson yesterday. Only just a couple of spots available when you're talking about the 53-man roster and finalizing that. So just a couple of spots that'll be on and up for competition on Sunday. But we'll talk a little bit about that with Jacques coming up here on the Jordy Culotta Show. Make sure and hit that like button, the share button, comment button. If you have not subscribed, please subscribe to the Jordy Culotta Show, as we will be giving you content all throughout football season for sure. And obviously, If you want to know when we go live, just click that bell, and you'll be notified each time that we go live here on the show. We are live on the campus of Click Here Digital. Remember, Click Here Digital is located right here in Baton Rouge, a full-stack digital marketing agency. When I say full-stack digital marketing agency, think about it. You're on Instagram, you're on Facebook, you're on Google today. Odds are you're going to be served ads, right? If those ads, you're wondering, like, how do they know that I am searching for these shoes? It's getting searched. You're getting served that from Click Here Digital. Those ads. That's what we do. We make our clients money, right? Whether you're in the automotive space, if you're in the legal space, if you're in medical, someone like Dennis or a contractor, get in touch with us. Jordy at clickheredigital.com is the easiest way. I'll be a main point of contact for you and can kind of pass you along. Over 150 employees, under 20,000 square feet of office space right here in Baton Rouge, handling digital marketing ads and campaigns for companies across the country, not just here in Louisiana, not just in Baton Rouge, from coast to coast. If you want to learn more, get in touch with me, Jordy at clickheredigital.com, or online, clickheredigital.com. Hour 2 next of the Jordy Culotta Show, built by R&B Builders. Come back with us.
Belmont Stakes Race Trainer. I'm sticking to roofing. Roof, roof, your roof.
If you're in the market for a mortgage lender, you need to start with Doug Bickley and his team. Bickley has built a crew with over 50 years of combined lending experience. They've been in business for over 20 years, and they love helping their clients achieve the American dream of home ownership. They're also key with working in real estate agents and helping their clients getting same-day pre-approval. They average about one buyer a day getting them in a home. If you want to get in touch with Doug and his crew, it's easy. Call them 225-214-5154. 225-214-5154. Go see the Bickley team today. They're located on the corner of Coursey Boulevard and Sherwood Forest right here in Baton Rouge.
We're all from different places and backgrounds. We've each experienced our own versions of life, but in the end, we're all on the same team. I'm part of that team, along with these players in purple and gold.
Kayshawn Buddha, Malik Neighbors, Miles Frazier,
Kyron Lacey, Greg Brooks. Whether on the field or in the courtroom, your team matters.
So join our team.
Make a difference.
Bet. Let's get it done.
The Jordy Culotta Show is brought to you by A-Bears Lawn Maintenance. Commercial or residential, A-Bears Lawn Maintenance is ready to work. A-Bears can tackle all your homeowners association requirements. Call Blake at 225-485-8022. A-Bears Lawn Maintenance.
In a wreck, Gordon McKernan Injury Attorneys is ready to go to work for you. Come meet your team.
I'm your intake specialist. I coordinate your case and connect you with your attorney and paralegal.
That's us, your legal team.
Thanks.
And we'll fight to get you every dollar you deserve.
I'm your settlements and disbursement manager, and I'm here to get you paid on time.
I'm attorney Gordon McKernan. Put our team to work today. Just call us. Get it done.
Hey Tiger fans, when you're traveling through Natchez, Mississippi, make sure to visit Tom and Wright Granning at Go-Mart and On The Go Deli, where you can fill up your tank and your belly. Go-Mart has clean restrooms, community coffee, an awesome beer cave, and a great selection of anything you may need on your trip. Located at 4 Sergeant Prentice Drive as you're entering Natchez on the left. Also stop by Wardo's Po' Boys at 309 North Broadway on the beautiful Natchez Bluff, where the Po' Boys are so good you'll swear you're in Cajun country.
At Ochsner, we know healing is a team sport. That's why we've partnered with world-renowned orthopedic surgeon Dr. James Andrews to create the Ochsner Andrews Orthopedics and Sports Medicine Institute. Whether you're a professional athlete or a weekend warrior, our team of specialists are dedicated to getting you back in the game. So whatever your reasons are for reaching your personal best, we've only got one: you. Ochsner Andrews Institute. Long live you.
Is it time to wash
wash your house or business? Call the pros at Hydro Wash today. Get them out with their low-pressure, soft-washing cleaning approach. From commercial buildings, rooftops, and residentials, Hydro Wash is ready to get your place shining. Find them on Facebook or call Curtis at 225-933-7068. Take it from me, Hydro Wash came by and made my house look like new. What was best was the professionalism. They picked up everything, made the clean, and then put everything back to where it belonged. Get in touch with Curtis today. Call him at 225-933-7068 or find Hydro Wash on Facebook.
All right, buddy. Make it a good shot. Oh, yeah. Sticking the roof in. Hey, Greg, the roof up? Roof's up. Roof's up. Roof's up. Roof's up? Roof's up. Roof's up! Beautiful roof every single time. True. True.
All right, welcome back here to the Jordy Culotta Show. As always, we are built by our friends over at RMB Builders. Our phone line is brought to you by our friends over at Southern Regional Medical Center. Jacques about to come through here and sit in and check out the new studios as we are live here on Click Here Digital Campus, online, clickheredigital.com.
I'm still waiting for the moment I go to the wrong studio as opposed to Click Here, when I'm just like one of those drives, you know, when you're not really paying attention. And you just come to work. Oh, JD! Because that's what I was wondering, if he was going to go to the wrong place or not. If you had told him that we'd moved.
It's concerning on finding it for the first time. Hey, buddy, how are you?
What's going on?
Good to see you.
Live?
Yeah, we
We're
are
live.
live. We are live. We are live. But it's all right.
Do it live. What does that mean, to play him out?
Ain't got time for it. Ain't got time for it.
Every Wednesday, we check in with our buddy Jacques Doucet of WAFB, of course, 9 Sports. It's getting closer to football season, JD. We are underneath 2 weeks before kickoff. See, what are we, 11 days away? We've been counting down with our numbers on social media.
Yes.
Yesterday we had Marcus Randall and a little Jay Lee.
Yes.
Very
nice.
On the number 12. 11, I believe we go Paraloo.
There's one throw.
Chris Carrier. I interviewed him yesterday.
Wow, Chris Carrier.
Throwback to the original DBU.
That's right. From Eunice.
From Eunice.
Is he still at Zachary?
He's still at Zachary. He's transitioning to being full-time track and field coach there.
Wow.
He'd be an assistant coach with Dave Brewerton there.
Yeah.
So he won 4 state titles as an assistant with Brew, and he's won 10 as the head coach of the track and field team. So 14
Incredible.
state titles altogether for him at Zachary. Not too shabby.
I was coached by Coach Carrier and actually taught civics by Coach Carrier my freshman year. We were in his class in the reading of the O.J. Simpson verdict. Wow. And he wheeled the television in, and he was talking, because I mean it was a civics class, it was a history class, and we were talking about how this moment in history will be such a huge, and he was one of the great teachers as well. Like, I mean, like when I first met Chris Carrier, when I got to Catholic High, I was enamored by his football resume. I had no idea that, you know, he was a teacher and so invested into being an educator. Really, and this was early on in his stint as an educator, and man, he was still to this day. I mean, you think back on some of the teachers that you had growing up, you know, people that were influential on you. I still think about sitting in his, you know, some of the ways, his styles, the way that he taught. Obviously, he was very passionate about it, and number 11, a great number 11.
Yeah, I think
he kind of wore that face mask with that covered his nose. I mean, he was an old school player.
I told him the first LSU game I ever went to was LSU versus Florida in 1987. Emmitt Smith was a freshman running back for the Florida Gators, and Chris intercepted a pass in that game. And I think he told me he had 10 career interceptions at LSU, and 3 of them came against Florida. Wow. Kerwin Bell, who had the mustache.
Bell, that's right.
quarterback for Florida.
Galen Hall.
Galen Hall, that's right.
Wore the bike pants. Wore the coach's pants.
But I didn't know that. That's great, man. Just a great dude.
He is a great dude.
Soft-spoken guy. He's got grandkids now and stuff, and so he's going to spend a little less time coaching and more time with his family and everything. But yeah, that O.J. Simpson verdict. That's a thing. Everyone remembers where they were when that happened, like the Challenger explosion and things like that when you grew up. But,
that's right. I remember it, man. I remember it like yesterday.
I saw a clip with Steve Harvey the other day. I don't go off the track here, but he. You remember when they FX did that show and they had actors. And Cuba Gooding Jr. played OJ.
That's right. That's right.
And
that's right. John Travolta was
John Travolta was in it. The guy that played Cochran was Dead Money, right on it. Marcia Clark.
That's right. Marcia Clark.
David Schwimmer was.
Yeah, David Schwimmer was in. He was a Kardashian.
Yeah, he always called him Juice. What are you doing, Juice?
Yeah. They cast the Kardashian kids in it, which really had nothing to do with anything. It was just kind of like reflection of modern day. But anyway, Steve Harvey's got Cuba Gooding on the show and says, Cuba, I love you, man. We boys, but OJ killed them people. Ain't no doubt about it. Don't make that face. He killed them people. And Cuba's like, I can say some things to refute that, Steve, but what does it matter? You know,
That's a great Cuba.
It is. That is a great Cuba.
He was down on the field before the LSU Florida game.
I remember that.
2009, and just an embarrassing moment for me. Just a stupid thing, you know. We're down there live, and Cuba, you know, we talked to him for a second. I said something stupid like, you know,
show me the money.
Yeah, I said, Jerry Maguire's one of the greatest movies ever, you know, or something like that too. Thank you.
Sweet. We were just talking about fans. We were just talking about it. Yeah, sweet, man.
Yeah, never heard that before.
Who could forget number 11, Brady James?
Yes.
Yeah, Brady James.
Great number 11. 7-11.
Tackling machine.
Falk and Brady James.
So, yeah, Perilou. Perilou is doing some I heard from Perilou the other day. He called me.
Really?
What?
He's mentoring some quarterbacks at Liberty, I think. He goes like maybe twice a week and works with them. And he does cooking.
So is he living in Baton Rouge?
He's living in Baton Rouge. He cooks and he caters, I think. I think Southern, the Jags, had a big thing on their campus over the weekend of the scrimmage and a fan fest, and I think he was out there cooking and stuff. So, yeah, I hadn't seen him in a little bit. I did do an interview with him during COVID. I think he came by the station and visited with us. And so, yeah, he's still out there. And, you know.
Golly, one of my favorites.
I'll never quit him. I'll never give up on Perilou. I bet he can still spin it.
No doubt he can. No doubt he can.
Certainly should go into the LHSAA Hall of Fame. Like
100%.
High school Hall of Fame.
100%.
Hall of Fame.
100%. He should be in the high school. I mean,
he's the number one player in the country.
Did you see him play live?
Oh, yeah.
School? Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean,
at East St. John. I mean,
still remember the first time I saw him. I just thought, he's better than I thought he was going to be.
He would drop back and just fling that thing 60, 70 yards. He would tuck it and run 60, 70 yards, which was always interesting to me in 2007 when they were implementing him into the offense. He was always running. I mean, he'd throw it every now and then. I'm like, this guy can throw, too.
Zip it.
You know?
I mean, I still remember the throw he made early against Virginia Tech when they ran that first fake quarterback, and he dropped back. And, I mean, it got to early Doucet so fast, even early was kind of like, damn. And then, I mean, the throw he made to D. Bird in the SEC championship, I love Matt Flynn. Matt Flynn deserved to be the starter on that team. Sure. I don't think Matt Flynn could have made that pass.
No.
I mean, like, that was an NFL throw by the book. I mean, that was a 35-yard comeback route where it never came 10 feet off the ground. I mean, the DB is like, I mean, it is just.
The safety never had time to come over, and because he popped it in there. And, you know, there was that shot after the game. Miles is hugging him. Coach Miles is hugging him and whispering into his ear, you know, congratulations, you deserve this, or this is your moment or something. And, you know, I've talked to him more than once, like, Ryan, you were handed the keys to a Ferrari. You were going to be the starting quarterback on the defending national champions, throwing to Demetrius Byrd and Brandon LaFell and Richard Dixon. Yeah. You had Charles Scott in the backfield and all this. What were you thinking, man? Why couldn't you go to team meetings? Why did you, you know? Oh, man, you know, it's just young and stupid. And so, you know, I know he's come to grips with it, I think. I think he realizes what he lost and but, you know, he's always part of that 2000 and 7 national champions. They don't win it without him.
No doubt.
Absolutely.
No doubt.
And he won a Super Bowl ring with
Giants.
the Giants. He was on their practice squad.
That's right. Same one Michael Clayton was on. He and Clayton got a ring together on that team. He didn't play in the Alabama game that year. He got suspended for that game for that fight at the varsity.
Yeah, I've heard stories about that thing.
Right. That was a brawl. There was a videotape that vanished.
Oh.
I mean, it was kind of like the Florida documentary we watched last night. I mean, like where they were making stuff disappear.
Yeah.
Same thing happened in 2007.
Flush
right?
it.
Like, get that tape out of here.
The LSU games and the Johnny Manziel documentary, those didn't show up either.
That was unbelievable.
They were showing like 4-1, 5-1, and suddenly the 2 popped up and it just wasn't referenced.
Keep going.
JD, tell me what you've seen of LSU. You've seen him scrimmage now. You've seen him practice. You've heard Brian Kelly speak about him multiple times. What have you learned about this team now that we're under 2 weeks out?
Well, I didn't go to the scrimmage Saturday because we were doing the Vertical Horizon concert for Red Rock and Blue, wrapping that up. But I did see the clips of it and everything. And certainly Caleb Jackson was the buzz after that. The 75-yard catch and run, the 18-yard touchdown run. So yesterday at Coach Kelly's press conference, I'd ask him because at least on 2 occasions when he was talking about the running backs and how we're going to play. We're not going to play at running backs, but how are we going to decide who plays? He said, well, at the end of the day, the experience rises to the top.
Yeah.
The experience rise. And so that kind of eliminates Trey Holly and Caleb Jackson, So we're down to 6, right? But then I asked him, I said, well, is this making you rethink things a little bit? And kind of a little, hey, let's keep our feet on the ground. Let's not let the freshman get the big head. Said, look, was that bad tackling? Was it great running? A little bit of both. We can overreact to these things, and so he said that certainly that he was very impressed by it, but at the same time, Caleb has a long way to go and a lot to learn and everything. But he is a big, strong kid with a huge trunk and lower body. I mean, he's a powerful dude. So we'll see what happens there. But, yeah, a lot of interesting storylines. Zy Alexander has held it down on one corner from Southeastern. Louisiana, Hammond America coming out of the Southland Conference. A year ago there was Colby Richardson who came from McNeese who, at the end of the day, I don't think made a major impact on the team. So can Zy Alexander do a bit better? He was an All-American with the Lions. And Deuce Chestnut had some problems with the heat first couple days, but looks like he's locked down the other spot. And, your wide receivers, Chris Hilton Jr., certainly kind of rooting for him. I guess he's about the 4th wide receiver right now or so forth, but he's finally healthy. And so, a lot of great storylines, and I just think they're in a much better place than they were a year ago. Are they going to win a lot more games than 10? That's not really possible. But, as far as can they get to 11 wins in the regular season? Or 12 or whatever, we'll see. It'll be fun, but there's still some warts from last year's team. Tennessee game was not close. Texas A&M game they laid an egg. Georgia game they were kind of in there but not. So have they improved a lot to be elite or not? We'll see.
Offensive line is a big storyline going into next week, and it looks like Lance Hurd is one of their best 5. If he's not one of the best 5, he's the 6th best that they're trying to work in there at some point. What do you anticipate happening with this freshman? I mean, could we see back-to-back years where you've got a true freshman starting maybe even an opening game on offensive line for LSU?
Yeah, I think it's probably more of a case he doesn't start the game against Florida State, but they work him in, and then just like Emory and Will, Will started from day one, right? It was Emory that kind of came along a little bit later. Coach Kelly talked about him yesterday and said, look, a year ago, there were mismatches across the board. It was like he said maybe even 99% of the people he went against could not handle him physically. And so now he's gotten used to Savion Jones and a few other people in practice and kind of learned about what he's going to be going up against in the future. But, certainly I think Brad Davis feels a lot better about who he's got to play this year and the depth they've got and the ability to play different guys in different spots. And does that mean Emory Jones goes to guard? And we calling him Zalance or we calling him Lance? Because he's Lance on LSUsports.net.
From what I was told,
roster.
He does not like Zalance to be called Zalance. He likes to be called Lance.
Okay.
So I'd like to respect a large human being. You know what I mean? Like, yes,
sense goes.
Yeah, we'll just call him L. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like it's.
Yeah. Well, that's what I've called him in my stories because I go to LSUsports.net and it lists him as Lance. So
Yeah,
anyway,
that's one of those situations I'd imagine, like, first day of class, like, what do you like to be called? It says to Lance, like, Lance. Like, okay, if you say Lance, it's Lance.
right. I mean, Mama call him Lance, I'm going to call him Lance.
well, you remember the story back in the spring where Coach Kelly, I think he was talking about the signing class, and he said, he goes, Lance told me, Coach, I'm going to be your left tackle. And he's like, well, we got one. Will Campbell's doing a great job. No, Coach. I know him. I went to school with him up there. I'm going to be your left tackcle.
Right.
So that was.
It's a great story. I mean, like, and you can tell Brian Kelly when he's telling it is like, I love this kid. You know what I mean? Like, I love who you are, but I mean, we might have a top 10 pick at left tackle.
We feel pretty good at left tackle.
Right. They did mention yesterday in the presser that 7 and 18 would be shaken out maybe by the end of the week. You got to.
I'd like to make a quick public disclaimer or a quick plea, okay? I think it is time after these years to stop piling on Jonathan Giles, okay? He was a student athlete. He did his best. He had the number, but every year, they dogged this guy. It didn't work out. He did his best, whatever. But I think 18 will go to Josh Williams, and does Malik Neighbors want to change his number from 8 to 7? That's my question there. So,
I mean, you could really argue that 7 has only been relevant. Grant Delpit over the last 5 years.
Chark was
so Chark was before
17.
Delpit. So 17. So since 17. So since DJ, because he was in a line of kind of guys that made a lot of sense. Delpit has been the last one that's made like this impact. I mean, they gave it to the right guys. Jamar Chase, he was.
Yeah.
He didn't come back. Derek Stingley
got hurt.
It was. I think
Booty helped him win games, but he did not live up to what we expected.
That's not that's not the.
It's not the standard.
That's not the deal. It puts a little pressure on it where
he's gonna pop.
It's like you bring this unnecessary attention to it where it could backfire, right? Like, I mean, I think if you don't have to do if I was who am I, right? Like, I mean, but I'm just saying, if we walked in there like, hey, what's your opinion on number 7? What would you do with it? I would say you don't have to hand it out every year.
Maybe not.
Mm-hmm. But if you've got Harold Perkins, you say that's your candidate for number 7, right? Like, it's not, if we have to sit in here and debate it. Like, Leonard Fournette was 7. Tyrann Mathieu was 7. DJ Chark was 7. Grant Delpit was 7. You know what I mean? Like, Jamar Chase is 7. Derek Stingley, 7. Like, unanimous. We're all in. Harold Perkins is 7. Yep. You know what I mean? If Malik Neighbors, I would listen to that.
Yeah.
Right? But I mean, if it has to be like, if you got to like go down this board where you're like,
it's like a Hall of Fame candidate.
Does he fit it? You're like, no. So don't worry about it. Just wait until next season.
Right. It's like discussing, does a guy belong in the Hall of Fame or not, to an extent. If we have to kind of debate it, maybe, or retiring a number or some other things that should be a slam dunk.
I think every roster has an 18.
Right.
I think
and they've gotten sloppy with that too. I mean,
there's a J.D. Moore, there's a B.J. Ojulari, and there's a Josh Williams on seemingly every LSU roster.
And you would hope that.
Well, the year they did J.D. Moore, they goofed it up, and they gave not goofed it up, but the process they goofed up. Christian Lockitcher is one of my favorite people in the world, but they gave it to him, and then they were like, well, we're going to have 2 of them. And then they gave it.
He was using it as a recrecruiting pitch.
Yeah, if you come back, we'll give you 18. And that's not really how that should be.
And they were like, I don't think that's the.
Not the spirit.
That's not the.
Shut up.
It's not like God intended. Tell me about my players.
JD, last Saints anything else on LSU? I mean, like we've talked it into the ground. I feel like we do the same show every day where we're just kind of going down the depth chart and we do storylines and I mean, is there anything out there?
Is Ramos going to kick? They're going to stick with him.
Right? Yeah.
I mean, that's a in the spring that didn't look good. The field goals and all that in the spring game. What does that matter? I don't know. But he didn't try a whole lot of field goals last year. I think he tried 11 and made 7. So, and a close game right off the bat. They are spending a lot more time on special teams at practice. There's no doubt about that. Right. And this Bob Diaco, who we didn't know a whole lot about, has kind of emerged as one of the guys you really notice at practice in terms of yelling and screaming and coaching and all that kind of stuff. And I'm just fascinated to see what they exactly do at running back because, I visited with Benny Logan last week. He loves Trey Bradford because he was an analyst on the staff when Trey was on the team, and said he's a good kid, and he's not a bad kid. He made some mistakes or whatever happened, and so he thinks he can be a real good player. And John Emery, what role does he play?
Mm-hmm.
And then Josh Williams has been banged up a little bit again, looks like, or they've been resting him. I don't know, but you want to see good things happen for him. And then Noah Cain looked a lot better. And then, you got this guy, Logan Diggs from Notre Dame, who ran for 800 yards last year. So that's going to be really interesting. That's why those guys get paid millions of dollars to make those decisions. So that's what I'm looking forward to seeing. And I haven't done a whole lot of homework on Florida State yet. I've been meaning to kind of read up on them a little bit more and get ready for that. But we're going to be leaving next Wednesday to go to Orlando, and a lot of coverage on WAFB in terms of we're sending like Steve Caparata and Liz Coe. We're going to be doing like morning newscast and weathercast there. I mean, it's like Daytona 500, brother. The biggest one right out of the chute.
Wow.
I feel like we're doing a national championship. But,
that is awesome.
Yeah.
All right, Saints' final preseason game on Sunday. We were talking to our guy Ross Jackson from Locked On Saints podcast. It was a great job. And he was saying, look, there's only about 2 or 3 spots available on this roster left. What have you made of Jalen Smith? I was surprised by the way he moved last week. I mean, the fact that he's on the street and can run like that they give scrubs a chance in the NFL training camp. I mean, it feels like they might have found themselves a dude, right? Or is it just too early?
Yeah. I got to be honest, I did not watch that game tremendously. I did see the post game where Dennis Allen talked about him and said that he was impressed by what he had done, and there was one play in particular that was really tight coverage that he broke up, and so yeah, I mean,
he just ran so well. You know what I mean? Like that was the most surprising part for me, is that I was kind of under the impression that
he was done.
Yeah, I mean, he was kind of like on his last leg. You know what I mean? It kind of would have been tough to watch him
like Jimmy Graham.
There.
Yeah.
Like Jimmy Graham. Yeah, I mean, not the fact. I mean, he closed on a couple of guys where you're like, what? He can still run like that? I mean, damn. I mean, I
think you'll see it probably in the coming weeks. Like, it's probably hard for him to get going again. Like, the rehab process is probably where
you do have to account for that. I mean, that was the first game and a long off season.
Yeah.
And he's trying to make the squad for sure.
The old Toby Keith, right? I'm not as good as I once was, but I'm as good once as I ever was. You know, it's the whole season. You know, it's kind of like Drew Brees. You know, I mean, you could his final years or his couple, you could still put him in a game and he'd go out and throw for 350, but it's the wear and tear every week when you're in your 40s and being able to bounce back and play 17 games.
Have you watched the Netflix documentary on the Florida teams, 06 to 09? Have you seen that?
I have not. I had planned on watching it. Somebody at work said, "Don't waste your time."
I would tell you.
So apparently it's more of a propaganda hype. This was all great.
It's an Urban Meyer PR wash. Herb is the face of it. He's the narrator of it.
Okay.
He's telling the story, so it's like, well, sure. I mean, like from his perspective, I mean, that this is. I mean, like, let me talk to the cop. Let me talk to the administrator. Let me talk to the guy. Give me somebody who had not. I mean, Aaron Hernandez's name comes up one time.
Yeah.
I mean, like no talk. No talk of Riley Cooper. No talk. I mean, like it's a documentary about how good Florida was from 06 to 09 on the football field. And that they dealt with some stuff off the field. I was more curious about the off the field. I knew what they did on the field.
Yeah.
I mean, show me and tell me and let me hear from the people that off the field they were covering up the police reports. I mean, like they did talk about like that it went through like an off season where people were getting arrested a lot. And Urban like made it like seem like he was like, man, every week I was dealing with something. It was crazy. I mean, these guys were out of control. I mean, I was trying to do everything I could. It was like, all right, Herb. A
lot's been done on Aaron Hernandez. Okay, I've watched a few of those documentaries on Aaron Hernandez, and that's a really sad story, his upbringing and how that ended, and everything's terrible. So if you want to like not talk so much, but you can't just gloss over everything and tell the story. I mean, we're dealing with that now. I mean, Darren doesn't want me to talk too much about it, but we're putting the Cecil Collins documentary together, and so you'll be hearing about it soon. But yeah, you can't. You have to tell the whole story.
Do you remember the week of the LSU 07 game? Major Wright, the safety for Florida was suspended for his car had gotten towed, and he jumped the fence at the tow company's place and tried to drive his car through the fence, and he was suspended the entire week of practice and was reinstated for the LSU game. The dude that Hester ran over in the middle of the field, where Hester pumps it and like runs through him, that's a safety. Major Wright. He was featured on it last night. The guy with he had the like the colored hair. He had the
I know who Major Wright is.
Highlighted hair. I mean, like,
he's the
no mention of that.
Yeah,
you know what I mean, like it was a huge story that week on like national, like even ESPN was covering it. Like, I mean, the police report was out. There was video of him jumping it was like, it was just like,
you might as well talk about it.
Right,
if everybody knows.
So by contrast, when they did the U talked about all their problems.
All of it.
They dug into all that stuff.
Because ESPN, it was a 30 for 30.
It was objectively done by people. Yeah.
Right? I mean, like, Jimmy Johnson wasn't narrating it.
Yeah. Right. Well, we're not talking about that.
Yeah, right. Like, we can't talk about that. Well, it's like, no, we're talking about that.
And totally different. But, it's like Prince, is it Harry? Mm-hmm. Who's married to Meghan Markle?
Mm-hmm.
Those two. They did their own, like, we're going to tell our story.
Yeah, right.
Well, it's not objective, from your eyes and your, and we're going to tell you what really happened.
Really and truly, when you read critics on The Last Dance, that's their criticism.
Oh, yeah.
They're like, Michael Jordan told the story. It's like, you don't hear from his ex-wife. You don't hear from any, of the people that, that he was probably bullying behind the scenes a ton. And even the stories that his teammates are telling, you can tell they're like,
Michael's
I don't know
hear
if I want
this.
to talk about this yet.
Yeah. Michael's still here.
Aren't you with him?
Where is he?
Right.
Wait for him to hop out the closet.
You can't expect a documentary to be told fairly if
There's
the
that close to
subject
it.
is directing it.
Yeah. That's the dance that you do. You want to deliver the best product that you possibly can. And look, the overall product to get Michael Jordan talking about all those things and whatnot far outweighs, I guess, implementing a few people who are critical of what went on. And, he really was an a-hole, or, he blew all this money, or the Kwame Brown stories when he was with the Wizards and stuff.
Right. Craig Hodges.
Yeah.
Craig Hodges, remember the sharpshooter on those early Bulls teams? He was the three-point champion all the time. He was one of the best shooters in the league, number 14 for the Bulls. And supposedly, him and Jordan, they just couldn't get along. And Jordan ran him out. You ran him off. And you never heard from heard from Craig Hodges. They showed a picture of him.
Well, because Michael's probably got those guys. He's like, I don't want them here.
Even the Isaiah stuff.
Yeah.
It's very, very short. And
it was very, very public.
Right.
Everybody knows the story. Might as well tell it.
Right.
Even the greatest, the most amazing stuff you've ever watched kind of has a negative. I read some stuff on Pistol Pete, and there were guys on that team that were like, I swore to myself, if I ever have a son, I'm never going to coach him, because Press Maravich, even though this guy was a basketball god, whatever went, with Pistol Pete went, and the other four were just treated differently. And obviously, I guess they should have been, but there's dynamics there, right?
One of the best parts of Swamp Kings, if you watch it, please, feel free, but it is a letdown. One of the best parts of it is when Brandon Spikes is talking about being injured for the Mississippi State game their senior year. Spikes and Tebow came back their senior season, and Spikes rips his hamstring that week and cannot play, and Tebow is stinking it up against Mississippi State. He throws a 99-yard pick six. He's missing wide open receivers. He's not the usual bull that he is at running back. He's not being able to pick up these first downs. And Spikes is talking about how Urban Meyer would light you up in the middle of a game if you weren't performing. And it was the first time they had ever seen Tebow not perform in a game. And Urban Meyer wasn't saying anything to him. So Spikes was the one that kind of got into Tebow. He was the one that was like, hey, man, you're playing like shit. And if you don't step up, we're going to get beat. And him and Tebow started like kind of going at each other on the sideline, like kind of barking back and forth at one another. And even Tebow in the documentary was like, said some things I probably regret, like in the moment. But like that was the stuff where you're like, oh, here we go.
Mm-hmm.
Like, all right. And then nothing. Like Urban doesn't talk about the story. Urban doesn't talk about the special treatment that he had for Tebow. There's nothing to that. I mean, it's all kind of like stories of how they recruited him and how they got him. The phone call of when he told him he was coming back and, like all of that stuff. I mean, it was all just kind of rah-rah type programming where you're like, man, there is some obvious stuff that y'all are glossing over. You know what I mean? There's some stuff here. It didn't.
I haven't watched a ton of modern day Saturday Night Live, but one of the funniest skits they ever did was Jesus comes down into the Broncos locker room and tells Tebow to tone it down with the religion stuff. You're laying it on a little heavy there, Tim. Just my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ.
I still think the funniest rookie prank of all time,
the haircut,
is the haircut that they put on Tebow when they did like the Jesus cut when they cut his hair.
Fryer tucked him
like a brother. I mean, it was unreal. All right, Jacques. What's coming up this week on the desk? Obviously, I mean, you're 2 weeks from football.
Well, we're shooting as much content as we can to take with us to Orlando. We'll have a live special from Orlando a week from Thursday, 6:30 p.m. on WAFB and WAFB.com streaming live. So that's kind of a big thing we're working on. And game week will start Monday. Brian Kelly will meet with the media at noon, and here we go.
High school jamborees?
High school jamboree Friday. Sportsline Friday night. Debut, 34th season.
Wow.
August 25th, the Jamborees. I mean, I'm not breaking any news to everybody that this has been the worst summer in the history of Louisiana. And
it's getting worse, too, JD. Heads up to 114 tomorrow.
Whoa.
114?
Is what they're saying, possibly.
It's
supposed to be the hottest day on record tomorrow.
The sad thing is, I believe you. Whatever that should be a joke.
Tell your boy Caparotto to chill out.
Literally. I've become what I despise. I hate people in April. They're like, oh, it's too hot. I can't go outside. And it's like 80 degrees with a cool breeze. Well, it's too hot to go outside.
It's not 80 degrees with a cool breeze.
Yeah. People have been trying to play golf. They can't get their tee in the ground because it's like concrete. So
gross. Good to see you, buddy.
All right. Thanks for having me. I love this. Is the first time I'm here, by the way. The new digs. Very, very nice.
Thank you, buddy. Thank you.
LSU,
Shot from
Florida
WAFB.
State prediction?
What's that?
LSU Florida State prediction?
Let's do that next week.
Okay.
At Jacques Doucet is where you find him on Twitter. And he's here every Wednesday. See you next week and check him out on the desk. 9 Sports. We're back and close it out here from Click Here Digital Campus.
Hey Tiger fans, when you're traveling through Natchez, Mississippi, make sure to visit Tom and Wright Granning at Go-Mart and On The Go Deli, where you can fill up your tank and your belly. Go-Mart has clean restrooms, community coffee, an awesome beer cave, and a great selection of anything you may need on your trip. Located at 4 Sergeant Prentice Drive as you're entering Natchez on the left. Also stop by Wardo's Po' Boys at 309 North Broadway on the beautiful Natchez Bluff, where the Po' Boys are so good you'll swear you're in Cajun country.
If you're in the market for a mortgage lender, you need to start with Doug Bickley and his team. Bickley has built a crew with over 50 years of combined lending experience. They've been in business for over 20 years, and they love helping their clients achieve the American dream of home ownership. They're also key with working in real estate agents and helping their clients getting same-day pre-approval. They average about 1 buyer a day getting them in a home. If you want to get in touch with Doug and his crew, it's easy. Call them 225-214-5154. 225-214-5154. Go see the Bickley team today. They're located on the corner of Coursey Boulevard and Sherwood Forest right here in Baton Rouge. Is it time to wash your house or business? Call the pros at Hydro Wash today. Get them out with their low-pressure, soft-washing cleaning approach. From commercial buildings, rooftops, and residentials, Hydro Wash is ready to get your place shining. Find them on Facebook or call Curtis at 225-933-7068. Take it from me, Hydro Wash came by and made my house look like new. What was best was the professionalism. They picked up everything, made the clean, and then put everything back to where it belonged. Get in touch with Curtis today. Call him at 225-933-7068 or find Hydro Wash on Facebook.
What's up?
What's happening?
Chilling with a couple of cool guys. You?
Chilling and watching some tube. Hold on.
Did you do it?
Hold on. Did you do it?
Roof's up.
Hold on.
Roof's up.
Roof's up.
Roof's up.
Hold on. Hold on. Hold on.
Beautiful roof every single time.
True. True.
At Auctioner, we know healing is a team sport. That's why we've partnered with world-renowned orthopedic surgeon Dr. James Andrews to create the Auctioner Andrews Orthopedics and Sports Medicine Institute. Whether you're a professional athlete or a weekend warrior, our team of specialists are dedicated to getting you back in the game. So whatever your reasons are for reaching your personal best, we've only got one. You. Auctioner Andrews Institute. Long live you.
Are you looking for sound financial advice? Then get in touch with Daniel Newman of Edward Jones. You can call him today at 225-261-8262 or email him daniel.newman@edwardjones.com. If you're planning for retirement, saving for college for children or grandchildren, or just looking for sound investment opportunities, get in touch with Daniel today, 225-261-8262, located on Magnolia Square Drive in Central. Daniel Newman of Edward Jones.
Can't put the cart before the horse. That'd be like, will you marry me?
Do I know you?
Never sign a contract with a roofer before he gets on your roof. Call Go Roof instead. We offer a free, no obligation inspection. A beautiful roof every single time. Bobby, goes in the front.
Roof, roof, Go Roof.
Belmont Stakes Race Trainer. I'm sticking to roofing.
Roof, roof, Go Roof.
Kentucky Derby training. I'm sticking to roofing.
Roof, roof, Go Roof.
All right, excited about our fishing rodeo coming up here, a little over a month away. You can sign up online at bootcrewmedia.com. Bootcrewmedia.com has a tab right there on their website where you can click and sign up for the fishing rodeo. And looking forward to it, man. It's going to be a fun day. That'll be the Missouri game, the LSU Missouri game for your reference there, if you were curious. So check it out as we will have.
Fishing
for you. Fundraising.
Don't put any lead balls in these fish. We're checking.
I don't know about all that.
Like, have you seen? You know what I'm talking about, right?
Yeah. Well, it was about like making them heavier.
Yeah, they got arrested because
Really?
they've been going to like
Well, I guess
the
if there's
fishing community.
Well, I guess if there's prize money,
Exactly.
on the line, it's fraud, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
And they had won like 3 tournaments in a row.
Oh.
Where it's like y'all are like so the fishing community that was also
Right.
participating 3 times, like these
Yeah.
people again.
No,
and like cut them
yeah.
open. They cut up in the fish.
No. Don't cut them open.
No. And they
Don't
weighed
cut them open right here.
They did the weights of the last one. They're like, there ain't no way. Not them fish. They had old fillets stuffed in the fish.
Holy
So they were putting more fish inside the fish, and then they're like,
What, are they sewing them back up? Or
yes.
something? Coach.
I mean, they had a
Just
good
drop
thing
the
going.
bait.
Yeah.
At this point, I mean, let's just try to fish.
You get the dynamite.
We're putting a lot of energy into this.
But it's
right?
they want that new Wrangler boat with the doors on the back.
Yeah, so they were just walking away with the prize every time.
Oh yeah, but
Dude,
the
what
thing
a
you gotta
scam. Good
you gotta know when to cut bait, especially as a fisherman.
Yeah.
Cut and run.
I mean, 2 wins, boys. We're tipping some people off. Like,
Yeah, exactly.
Red flags are going up on us.
This is the last one, I swear.
Yeah, one more.
I got that boat. I got that fillet. I
They
gotta
got
put
that
in there.
boat. The one.
You just got one.
The one we've wanted the whole time.
We won 3 in a row. We get this. It's never happened.
Oh wow! I guess we do have to keep our eyes open.
Yeah, it depends on the prizes.
$2,500 grand prize. I mean, if people are scheming and sewing up fish for $2,500, I mean, I guess. All right. Well, we appreciate your support. If you want to jump in, you want to fish, you want to sponsor, all of that can be learned online at bootcrewmedia.com. Bootcrewmedia.com to figure all that out. All right. So tomorrow here, Chris Blair going to pick back up his segment. As Blair's going to be in studio with us every Thursday, just like he was for the baseball season. He'll be doing that here for football. I've also got a text in to Jim Nagy, who is the executive director of the Senior Bowl. I always like to get Nag's approach here going into the season, like kind of what's his scouting method, who are some of the seniors, some of the upperclassmen that he's looking at. Their recruiting process for the game starts, over a year ago, so he's well-versed on a lot of these guys, and he's just a great resource in football to really dive into and talk to. So hopefully we'll talk to Jim Nagy before we get out of here this week as well, and hopefully some good and better, more discussion of football coming at you before the weekend as well. Remember our friends over at Hughes Mechanical. Hughes Mechanical, of course, the HVAC service spot that you're trusted Daikin air conditioning company. You can reach them online or you can call them today. Online at hughesmechanical.net, hughesmechanical.net, or the phone number is 225-658-2147, 225-658-2147 is the phone number if you want to get in touch with Travis Hughes over at Hughes Mechanical. They can help you out today. And wherever you are in South Louisiana, Baton Rouge, North Shore, New Orleans, any of the surrounding areas, let them help you out. Residential and commercial HVAC services and maintenance are offered over there online at hughesmechanical.net. Hughesmechanical.net is where you can find them or call them 225-658-2147.
Right there on your screen.
Appreciate everybody for putting for starting your Tuesday or Wednesday here with us. Make sure and hit that like button, share button, comment button if you don't mind. All the interaction, all the views here during football season, man, we're grateful for it. Continue to spread the word. If you have not subscribed, please subscribe to the show. Get ready for some LSU content that'll be heading your way coming up this season, as we will have it live for you each Monday through Friday, 7 to 9 a.m. Throughout the entire year.
Got a sick Stewie coming back tomorrow. Lloyd is off to the beach today.
Good for you, buddy.
Be back Sunday, so just missing the one day.
So you're out tomorrow and Friday?
Yes.
So it'll be Stewie and I. Stewie getting right today to close out the week. What's that?
Well, shake back day for Stewart.
Yeah.
Yeah, it sounded a little. I told him to get some
It's,
meds.
it's going around, man.
It is.
It's
That's
going
the second
around.
person I've heard is
Yeah,
sick.
I mean, there's a couple of people out there. So make sure and stay healthy, stay safe. Appreciate everybody being out there. And we will talk to you tomorrow morning at 7 a.m. Compliments of our friends over at R&B Builders.
Listen to this video. There's weights in the fish.
You. And you have such an amazing personality, and you're.
What is that?
Oh no, Coach, 28,000. That is fraud.
They want to think, yeah.
I mean, like they're not going to get
Look,
caught.
there's the fillets and there's the weights.
Lead weights and
Fish fillets. What a gambit.
Holy cow, man. Ohio.
Don't mess with people's fishing money now.
Man, I bet you they got like.
Oh, they wanted to kill him.
Oh, I bet.
Because these people don't play.
Oh, yeah, here we go.
Piece of shit. Have a good day.
Sign up for our fishing rodeo.
It'll be just like that.
Piece of shit.